And now let's configure the SCADAPack and then demonstrate communication with the Modicon Edge I/O NTS Distributed I/O Island. Here's a reminder of what this project aims to accomplish. We're going to configure the SCADAPack to communicate with the Edge I/O Island installed near the new tanks. I'll switch to the Remote Connect configuration software now and click the Create Project button. After the project settings dialog opens, select the type of SCADAPack you're using. For me, it's a 470i, so I'll select that type, then enable Modbus IP clients. This allows the Modbus scanners to operate. After clicking Finish, now the default project will be created. With the project now open, the first thing we need to do is assign an IP address to the Ethernet port that will connect to the Edge Island. I'll choose Ethernet port 2 and enter an IP address of 10.10.7.1. You may recall that the default IP address of my network interface module is 10.10.7.214. I'll apply this. Then we'll move on to configure the Modbus scanners. When you expand the Modbus section in the configuration tree, you'll see a new entry here called Client. Select it, then click Add Device. This entry will be the Edge Island itself. I'll give it a name. Now we enter the island's configured IP address, which in my case is 10.10.7.214. Below you'll see the default communication timeout parameters and the default scan rate, which is 500 milliseconds. I'll click OK and then Apply to confirm the new device to poll. Now back over in the configuration tree, there's a plus beside client, so I'll click that and there is Edge Island. I'll select it. Next is to create scanners to both read from and write to the island, so I'll click Add Scanner. First, we're going to set up a scanner to read the input modules. Then the Modbus start address will be, as we discovered earlier, 45392, and we'll request all 12 registers, as we discovered in the previous video. This will poll for the digital and analog inputs, but also various other information from all modules. The scan rate and timeout here can remain at the defaults, unless you want to override the device settings. After clicking OK, a dialog appears asking if you want to manually connect existing objects to the scanner or automatically create and connect new objects. Let's automatically create objects, and optionally we could automatically assign DNP3 point numbers to each of these objects. I'll skip that, however, and just click OK. Now we'll click Add Scanners again to add a write scanner. I'll select On Change and At Scan Rate, meaning that values will be written every 500 milliseconds, as well as if something changes in between scheduled messages. We're going to write to register 40,001 for a length of 7 registers. Next, we'll click OK and again automatically create and connect new objects and click OK. Now I'll apply these changes. Okay, now I want to configure some browsers to test communication with the Edge Island. This will show that the SCADAPack is successfully monitoring and controlling the expansion facility through the Edge I/O Island. I'll go to the Objects tab, select Object Browsers. First I'll click Add a Browser, and then call this Edge Inputs. Then another called Edge Outputs. And finally one called Scanner Status. Now I'll apply these changes. When new objects are created for a scanner, they're given default names. You can see that here as I go back to the Edge Island configuration and select the Read scanner, starting at address 45392. The default names follow a pattern: MBus, followed by the device name, Edge Island, then the data type, and finally the Modbus source address. That's not bad, but it's easier to understand if the names are changed to represent their function on the edge island. Feel free to rename the objects in Remote Connect in a way that makes sense for you. I'll pause and do that now, and at the same time set the logic variable type to unsigned for all. Then I'll assign each object to an object group so that we can more easily add them to browsers. Next, I'll go back to the object browsers, and I'll add some objects to the input browser by clicking Add Entry, and then add all objects currently in the group called Inputs. DDI0602_values, which you can see in the source details column, is coming from Modbus address 45395. I'll click the Edit Entry button and change its display format to binary raw, so we can see individual inputs. After clicking Apply, I'll switch to the Edge Outputs browser and click Add Entry. Add all objects currently in the group called Outputs. Next, I'll select DD00802 Values Rearm and click Edit Entry to again change the display format to binary. I called it Values Rearm because it includes both the digital output values in the lower byte and rearm commands in the upper byte. You can explore rearm later, but its purpose is to re-enable outputs after an error has been detected. Finally, I'll select the Scanner Status browser and click Add Entry. I didn't change the names of these objects. Remote Connect creates them with each new device being scanned, allowing you to monitor the health and status of the channel. You can monitor as many or as few of these as you like, whatever is helpful. I'll click Add All Objects currently in the group called MBus Edge Island. Now it's time to go online and write the project into the SCADAPack. Okay, now let's navigate to the Online Diags Objects tab, select the Edge Inputs browser, and then click Refresh. I've got a simulator board wired to my digital input board with 4 switches tied to the first 4 inputs. Right now, if you look at the rightmost block of bits, you can see that they are all on. I'll turn all 4 of them off, and then refresh again, and you can see that they all change to 0. I'll select the Edge Outputs browser next, then enter a binary value to be sent to the digital output module. The upper byte is for the rearm command, which you can explore later, so I'll only write 8 bits. And now I'll click Write Selected. On my DO module, the upper 4 status LEDs just change state to match what I wrote here. But you can actually do a more interesting test. When you want to access an individual input or output in logic, you can parse out the bits with a word-to-bit function block. Or to go the other way, you can use a bit-to-word function block. Here's a fun bit of logic to demonstrate this. We'll also need to convert the unsigned integers to and from words. This logic takes the byte of DI values pulled from the digital input module and breaks it out into bits. We then go the other way and send those bits out to the digital output module. Now that I've gone online with the logic editor, you can see the individual binary points going on and off. If you try this yourself, you'll be able to see the status LEDs on the digital output module mirroring the switch positions. Back on the Edge Inputs browser now, my simulator board has 4 0 to 5 volt analog outputs wired to AI0 through AI3 on the analog input module. You can see values for each of these. I'll adjust the potentiometers and click Refresh, and you see the values have just changed. And let's go to the Edge Outputs browser once more. I've wired a 250 ohm resistor across A00 on the analog output module, pin 1 to pin 2. With a 0 to 20 milliamp signal, this generates 0 to 5 volts. After I enter a value of 5,000 and click Write Selected, I can see with my multimeter a value of 2.5 volts. You can test this yourself by writing values to your analog output module in the same way. Now let's check the scanner status browser. I'll refresh the page, and we can see at the top of the list that the message count value is 1211. I'll refresh again, and it's 1255. This is the number of messages sent to the island. The response message count value will typically be the same, though on a poor comms link, this may indicate dropped packets if it's a lesser value. The comm status object will normally report a value of 4. A value of 3 means the polling is not successful. I'll unplug the Ethernet cable so polling of the edge island stops. After refreshing the page, we see a value of 3. After reconnecting the cable and waiting a few seconds, we get a good comm status value of 4 again. Back in the Edge I/O configurator tool, one very handy feature is that help is never very far away. While you're on the island management page, select any module. Near the top of the page, you'll see an image of the module, and just below that is the Open Product Manual button. There is a lot more than we can discuss and demonstrate about Edge I/O in this short video series, so please do make use of the manuals. Here are some additional resources to assist you with projects, including Modicon Edge as SCADAPack Remote I/O. Thank you very much for your interest in integrating a Modicon Edge I/O NTS island with your SCADAPack. We hope this video series will give you some ideas about how you can make use of Edge I/O in your SCADAPack projects.